What's up, everybody? Welcome into another episode of Vision Pros Live. I'm your show host, Jackson Callum, founder and CEO of First Class Business. And I'm excited to have Justin Boyd on today because he's got one of those ultra promises that visionaries and business owners need desperately. And it's very hard to find the providers that are able to fulfill on that promise. So, Justin and I just met. I'm like one of the hardest ball people probably when it comes to the subject because of our experiences in the past with those who can help us on the financial side of our operations. And so we're going to have a discussion with him about just his vision, what he's up to. We're not going to dive too much into the nuts and bolts of like how he goes about what he does because we want to get to know the who first, and we want to get to know why he does what he does. In addition to that, I'll give a shout out to some of the people in the past who've helped us in similar services because again, I want you to be prepared to interview people the right way. It's about protecting your vision. It's about setting up what you need for that infrastructure. So we started First Class Business with Cameron Williams at the helm as our, I guess you call it fractional CFO of Kinley Accounting. One thing that guy does, he sent me cookies that were to die for, by the way. And in addition to that, he really does know his systems. And we were in a position where we wanted to scale faster and have somebody who could help us scale for our clients as well. And shortly after that, one of my good buddies who served a mission in San Antonio, Texas, and met him that way, ended up doing a very similar process and following a very similar program. His name is Zach Johnson of Discovery Bookkeeping. Both of these individuals are individuals that I recommend taking a look at. They both have their own strengths and their processes and what they do. I'll also mention Mike Tortorisi of Well Done Taxes. I've worked with him his mom worked with my mom for the last 40 years. And now he does kind of the same thing. And so he's the person I turn to for taxes and for financial realities. Mike is a great guy, not as streamlined and scalable. So again, we're always looking for entities that are able to streamline and scale. There's one other provider that we turned to that was very close to those matters. I'm not going to mention his name. You can just look back in our past to see who that might be. But that person has ended up on our blacklist. Again, there are good, bads, and uglies related to the financial realities of trying to bring a vision together. So I speak about this with a sense of reverence and a sense of sacredness, knowing that you've really got to take Michael Gerber's The E-Myth to heart when it comes to hiring somebody in finances and really understand the process enough so that you're not delegating by abdication. Make sure you're delegating by understanding that process. And again, we're going to dive into more vision today. But if you feel drawn to Justin, of course, and I'll reach out to him. He's somebody I'm going to be talking to afterwards as well and seeing, is this the guy? Who actually brings together what everybody promises that they do. So before I bring Justin back on, a few more resources for you. Home Studio Mastery by Junaid Ahmed. He builds amazing podcast studios. I'm here in Ecuador. I don't really do the theatrics of a fancy studio on my side, but I do need the right microphone. I do need my setup to be great. It is nice to have him in my back pocket when I need him. I just introduced him to Dr. Justin and Shannon Pierce to upgrade their studios. Went and built a studio with him in Atlanta that was a $50,000 studio. He's a top 2% podcaster globally, so he also understands how to drive success. I highly recommend Junaid. He's a great friend of mine. Then there's Dr. Danny Brissell, who's become one of my best friends over the last year. He's one of the world's best educators, and anybody who has children that's listening right now or is in the education space, he's one of the world's best educators, and he teaches parents how to inspire their children to love how to read. The type of impact that he's making in the world is going to have wonderful impacts for generations. Go check out The Reading Habit with DannyBrissell.com. And then there's the Water Project. The Water Project is an entity that we actually just donate to every month. I don't have an affiliation with them, but when I found out that there's millions of people in this world who don't even have access to clean drinking water, it just impacted me. It hit me. And I was like, dang, I've never been thirsty in my entire life. What would it be like if my kids had to leave school and go get water, or if I had to leave work to go get water? My friends, we have an opportunity to bless the lives of millions of people in ways that, again, we take for granted. My hope is that even if you can't commit financially to helping the water project, that you'll bring their website up with friends or family, maybe over dinner, maybe over lunch. Just talk to them about it. You never know. Talking about that with the right person could lead to that person investing $10,000 in those entities. We're talking about making a generational impact that helps people for decades by building a sand dam or a borehole well. They actually show you the process of the project you invest in coming to fruition. It is one of the coolest things that I've ever seen. Now, there's 8 billion people to help in this world. So if you know of another cause drop it in the comments. Let us know what that cause is, because I will take a look at it personally, and I will see what I can do to help out if it's something that inspires me. And really, I hope that's what this life is about, is helping other people. So without further ado, let's get Justin on here and help each of you and talk about his vision of finances and what he's up to in life. So Justin, welcome to Vision Pros Live.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it, Jackson.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So we can dive right back into where we are. Or we can even pivot the direction of the vision, however you'd like to do that.
Yeah.
I will ask kind of more about the story behind what you're doing and what your why is. I'll combine both those for you. We'll just complicate it. Why don't we?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I get the why is because there are so many businesses out there, and I think like small businesses, and I think it's going to be even more the case going forward here with just kind of the way the world is going. And, at least in America, people are losing their jobs and trying to figure out, what am I going to do? How do I, make ends meet? A lot of people trying to start their own business out of necessity or out of just, following their passion. But there's a big lack of financial education out there. At the same time, we do have ChatGPT. We do have a lot of AI stuff that's helping out. But if you don't have it trained right, if you don't really know what to ask or do it the right way, you can be misled as well, just like you can by a human being. And so, and combined with that is just, there is a lot of lack of trust, between people and things like that, especially as it relates to things like finances and other things where people have been or can be taken advantage of. Right. So I guess the why is to just be a beacon of trust that people can come talk to you, and feel like, hey, they're going to meet me where I'm at. They're going to be okay. It's not going to be embarrassing, but I can be honest about where I am, and really help them feel confident that they can do it. Encourage them that, hey, you can do it. And I'll try to help you as best I can along that journey. And so I think just providing that trust is something that is really, really needed in this area.
Cool, man. And I haven't asked this question in a long time, but it is one of my favorites to ask people.
Sure.
And given your qualifications, I think it's a very prudent question. Feel free to shoot the question down, Justin, because I'm going to lead the witness with it.
Okay.
Or feel free to double down and say, like, nope, I see where you're coming from on this. Justin, why do leaders hide from funding their visions?
From funding their visions? Honestly, well, from what I've seen, and again, I haven't seen it all, but I think a lot of them are not confident in what their vision is, or they think that they're going to get, dissension from it, or not get support from it. So that's, I think, the biggest thing that I've seen. And I would say, if I put myself in that bucket too, it's like, what if it fails? What if it doesn't, come through? Am I gonna be able to make it happen? So I would say that's the biggest thing that I've seen, is just that lack of confidence in it of yourself, where it's like, I believe in it, but I'm also scared that, as soon as I have to put money behind it and put it out there, that something might go wrong. Right. So
yeah, huge. And I think it's so important, because it's kind of like somebody who walks tightropes.
Yeah.
Like you can't jump onto that thing nervously. Or like slow and like scared. That ain't gonna work.
Right.
That's not gonna happen. And so, I would like to ask the next question then, since it sounds like we're kind of in agreement that some people have fear of failure, some people have probably even fear of success. Some people just don't know what to do with it. So, in that case, how do leaders then lean into funding their vision? Funding it is important, and if it's not, just tell me it's not important. But if it's important to fund, how do you as a leader lean in confidently and fund your vision?
Yeah. So, I mean, from my standpoint, what we help people do is put data and, financial patterns around it, as far as like, hey, if you do this, here's what it's going to look like. And they can get better headlights into what is that going to take, and what things have to fall in place to make that work, what assumptions have to work. And to also look at, hey, here's best case scenario, but here's also worst case scenario. Put some different viewpoints out there to say, if things don't all fall into place, here's what it might look like, to get them comfortable with the guardrails of like, oh, if it does not go exactly perfect, that's not the worst case in the world, and things aren't going to fall apart. Also to talk to people that have done it before, and also talk to, the people that are investing in them, or whoever that may be, to figure out what their expectations are, but really to try to what we do is try to take the emotions out of everything and replace that with data or history and remind them like, hey, we can use this data to make decisions. And also, you've done stuff like this before. Let's point back to things that you've done before where you've put your money where your mouth is and succeeded. So what's to say you can't do it again, right? Because I, especially again with myself, if I want to put myself at the center of it, I constantly forget about all my successes. Everything I do going forward is like, no, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. And you have to pause and be like, it's the gap in the gain. Like where have I come? What have I already accomplished? I can do that again. And if I need some data around that to make a more confident decision, great. But most likely you've done something like this before.
True that. And I love that you used the analogy of headlights, shining the light on where you're going, what's ahead of you, what's possible with that. I'm going to use a silly analogy on entrepreneurs, but if you're launching a business model and your goal is, I'm going to open a Christian bookstore with a vape section, and a barber shop and a burger stand next to it. It's like, maybe you should ask ChatGPT a little bit about should you do that or not, as well as people like Justin and myself, verifying the business model, making sure that you've done your market research, making sure that you know what you're getting into. It's super important to plan and prepare for that, so that you don't later have to repent and repair what it is that you strive to launch. So we'll lean out of these questions a little bit into your world, Justin. Justin, if there's a question that you either haven't gotten in podcasting or that you've gotten on a show and you're like, dang, that's the question that everybody should ask. What is it, man? What should we be asking you?
In terms of just our company or in terms of like what I'm seeing out there, or what are your thoughts? Just anything.
Your lead, my friend, whichever direction you want. I mean, I know that the Vision Pros who are listening in, all of you are in control of what you gain out of this. Right? You're going to gain out of this what you want to. And Justin, I think what you speak is going to probably help somebody no matter which direction you go. So what do you feel inspired to go to?
Yeah, I mean, the people, the question that I like that comes from people is like, what should this look like? What should success look like? And not to define it as like that there's one answer, but I think what people are always wondering is how am I doing? I want some affirmation of, what I'm doing is good or successful, in the loose sense of like, I should be where I'm expected to be with my situation. And if I'm not, I want to know about it and I want to help correct it. But there's a lot of business owners just, working so much in the business and not as much on the business. And they're running 24/7, just trying to, keep all the strings together and keep everything operating. And they don't have a sense of, they kind of lose the sense of where they're going. They kind of lose the sense of where they've been, how far they've come. And they just want to feel like, hey, am I actually succeeding? Do I have some data that tells me, yes, I'm actually moving this thing in a positive direction, let's say. And it's not all for naught. And I'm not just spinning my wheels and feeling stuck, even though I might be emotionally. So to put take the emotions out of it, to give them some reassurance of this is what you've done. Because I've run into business owners that they have no idea that they've either gotten a lot worse or a lot better year to year. And it's like, hey, let's highlight those successes and let's try to replicate those. But they don't necessarily take the time to do it, or they don't know how to understand, what those metrics are that I should be looking at. But just asking yourself in your business to try to, take a step back, look at where you've come from, again, and kind of where you're going. And if you can't determine, what that data is or what those measurements are for success or progression, or, you know what I mean? It's not about perfection. It's about progress. How do I get that so I can feel good about what I'm doing, and I can double down on that, and I can pull back from some other areas that might be detracting from the business. But just to get a sense of that is can be huge for the business owner, mentally and emotionally. So
if you know, right? Those of you visionaries who are far enough along that success is actually like happening, but you're maybe stuck in that grind and that hustle mode, then you know exactly what Justin's talking about. For those of you who may be a bit newer and haven't quite tasted that and feel like maybe a little bit of despair, or maybe like, I don't know when I'm going to get there, share one example of something similar to that. So we worked with F5 Mortgage back when we very first started this company, and they had been in business for a year, and the business owner was actually doing quite well, but he didn't feel like he was. And he felt lost in exactly what Justin's describing. And one of the things that he wanted to do was shut down his call center in the Philippines. And I was like, just give me 3 days to run some numbers on this. And so I ran some numbers in the call center after getting some metrics from him about what were his performance rates, what was his profit margins, what did that look like. And it turned out that on this system, he was spending about 7,000 per month on it, and he was making 32,000 in direct take home ROI. And I'm like, dude, don't shut this down. He's like, well, he was so stressed with the management of it and trying to do it as kind of a solopreneur mindset. I was like, look, let me train them. I'll spend 1 hour per week with them. I won't take a lot of time, and I'll find out what's going on. We'll fix some things. And he's like, all right, fine. And so I jumped in. I listened to some phone calls that they did, and I realized nobody knew how to talk about the brand. And so even though they were doing really well financially, there was still a lot of opportunity to optimize. And so I went to the next training, and I trained the team on how to talk about the brand. When people would say, wait, I thought I had talked to Rocket Mortgage, what's F5 Mortgage, and blah, blah, blah. So I went into that training, and that very week, they all went from a 1% transfer rate to a 4% transfer rate. And the top performer went from a 4% transfer rate to a 16% transfer rate.
Wow.
And so we saw not only a massive potential not only a massive increase, they went from 32,000 with a $7,000 spend to 100,000 plus on the $7,000 spend. Now we knew that this other person, all I had to do was talk to them now and find out, what are you doing to make a 14% transfer rate instead of 4%? So these are the types of moves that can be made for your business when you're talking to people who know who have the time to get into the details. Whereas you as a visionary, you've got 1,000 things on your plate, and it can be very hard to do alone. So I'm all about people like Justin Boyd coming in and helping businesses with growth. I'll give you the final word, Justin, wrap up. But before I do that, if you see that button up there, my friends, that says be our guest, and you've got a vision, you want to come share it with us, click the button, book your appointment, come join us on the show and talk about what your vision is, how you're helping people out. So Justin, final fortune cookie words. What do you got for us?
Yeah, it comes back to just believing in yourself and following your own vision, right? And figuring out how to make money around that and delivering that to the world. And it's not all about the money, it's about delivering it to the world. And if you follow your passion, you're gonna find a way to, the money's gonna follow if you're doing the right thing. So absolutely, don't hold back. Be smart about it, but don't hold back, and make sure it gets out there, because we need it all. So we need all those visions out there. Yep.
We really do. And so to double down on what Justin said, money is a vehicle, and it's a very, very valuable vehicle to use to propel your vision. We'll see you guys all on the next episode of Vision Pros Live. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you for being here today. I'm really happy that you tuned in to Vision Pros Live. I'm looking forward to seeing your reactions as these episodes continue to move forward. This is going to get more and more fun. We'll have more and more engagement as well. We'll invite people to participate in the show. And thank you for giving us your time and attention. Have an excellent time building out your vision and becoming a Vision Pro yourself.